When I was in high school, I started working on the game of my dreams. Unfortunately, I had no idea what I was doing. I've now graduated college, and the game is nowhere close to being finished. I wanted to take my time, sit down, and finish this thing once and for all. Edge has flipped between being a 2D space RPG to a 3D strategy game, to many other different iterations of the same idea, but it's all been dependent on my skill and scope at the time. So I decided that it's going to be a 3D multiplayer space battle game with third-person character controllers, pilotable ships, and shipboarding features, with a bunch of other things that I don't want to spoil just yet. So I want to be able to recreate the classic cinema space epic feeling, but in a video game, something that I feel like I haven't been able to experience since I was a kid. So without further ado, let's make a game. Before we begin, I'm hoping that everyone can bear with me because this is the first time that I've ever made a video like this, and I accidentally got some of the recording settings wrong, so it's going to be completely fixed by next time, I promise. So anyway, this is my character controller that I'm working on. So right now it's really janky. This is the old version of it. I can move, I have a reticle, I can shoot, but there really isn't anything special about it. So we need to go back and completely redo this. For my aiming, I'm using a package from Root Motion called Final IK, and what this allows me to do is use inverse kinematics to figure out where my target is going to be. So right here, I'm just messing around with the sample that they give us, the sample scene. There's an invisible ball attached to the camera, which is how the inverse kinematics is working. So right now, I'm just changing the reticle. I made that white, and I'm just going to go through some quick animation steps. So I'm going to change the animation to get it to work with walking backwards, forwards, left and right, and hopefully make it a lot more fluid. So I've gotten all my assets from Mixamo. It's a really nice website that has a bunch of motion capture data. You can use that for animations, video animation, game animation, whatever you really need it for. It's all free with the Adobe account that you have. I love it. I use it for everything. So all the animations you see, unless I state otherwise, are going to be using Mixamo. Yeah, definitely what I intended to do. Definitely what I intended to do. I was tired of looking at his head, so I gave him a box. So I fixed the animations. This is what it looks like right now. I really like the way that it looks. It's really seamless, fluid. You can walk in each direction. So right now, the aim, you can zoom in with it, but I want to make sure that the shooting is a little bit better. So right now when you shoot, it just sends out a projectile, but there isn't anything that, it's hard to tell where you're shooting at, depending on how far away you are from the target. So I'm going to go ahead and change that over to a raycast. But before I do that, I'm going to make some AI, because I have no idea what I'm shooting at right now. So I made a really, really basic AI with the help of a couple of YouTube tutorials. I'll link that in the description. But it can patrol, attack, and chase me. So I have to give it a weapon still, but right now it works pretty well. I'll show you how that works. If I get within a certain distance from it, it starts following me, and now it's shooting me because I'm in the attack distance. So the shooting is actually a bug, which I didn't anticipate working correctly right now. I'm trying to make a weapon that I can give the character, but right now it's just shooting from a fire point that's assigned to it. So let's make a weapon for it right now and aim it at me and see if that works. Yeah, so that works a lot better right now. I'm really happy with that. So I went back in and I tweaked the way that the bullets work. So right now they're raycasts, and I can just shoot the wall or the enemy, and it'll instantiate a cube that I've created because I don't have any impact effects right now. I'm going to work on that next. But as you can see, it just spawns a bunch of cube objects, which shows that it's working. The ray is coming right out of the camera because if I had it from the gun, the same issue would happen from before, where you would just shoot at a character and it might hit something in the foreground. So right here, I'm shooting the enemy, but unfortunately, the damage script isn't working because I'm not hitting the enemy. I'm actually hitting the cubes that are hitting the enemy. So right there, I finally ended up killing the enemy, but I have to make sure that the cubes don't actually exist and go ahead and make a particle effect for it instead. I made this blood effect, but I absolutely hate it right now, so I'm going to take some time and go and redo that and learn the particle system. But this is what it looks like right now on an enemy. It's not very good. You can't really see it that well, but it gets the idea across that yes, you're doing damage to the enemy, which is nice, and there are no cubes. I'm tired of shooting at a bean, so I'm going to go ahead and redo the character model using the same assets from before. This time, it's going to be using inverse kinematics to aim the weapon at me, so I won't waste any more time making a lookout script, which was pretty easy to begin with, but I'd much rather have it look properly, and I'm going to be working on that for the entirety of the game. So let me just go ahead and take the sample. Okay, so I got this working, thankfully, to an extent. So it can aim the weapon at me, which uses inverse kinematics, but there are no animations. There's nothing really showing that it can walk. It just kind of floats towards me. So that's going to be what I'm working on next episode, just making the animations a little bit better for everything involved. You can compare that to the cube right now, but I like the way that it looks currently. So that's where I'm going to end it for now, but we have a lot more work next week to get done, and I'm really excited for it. So please let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions for me. This is the first time I've done this before, so any suggestions would be really appreciated for video editing or coding or whatever you feel like. So thank you. I'll see you later. Bye.